Gary, I'd like to take it a little bit away from this now because, as you admitted, we're making it an issue when it is almost, it should not have been an issue in the first place. And I think we exhausted it. I want to go to Special Branch because you, in your capacity as a former National Security Minister, and from what you've known, did you follow the Joint Select Committee meetings of Parliament?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did, right. And you would have seen the reluctance of the Special Branch to what appeared to be reluctance to give any information to the committee, as well as given the fact that they were not aware, or they claimed not to be aware of what happened on the total day of police. And because this remains still, I would think, a issue of grave national concern, much more than this email affair.
Of course it is, yeah.
What, as former National Security Minister, is Special Branch operating to, and you're former, I would expect that you would be free to say it, to an optimum that would take us, what would show us that they would have learned from 1990?
Yes, let me get back. The day of total policing was a total disaster. It again showed the reason why it is that I formulated the National Operations Center, which was to ensure real-time information is being passed on to the government officials, to the public, to the law enforcement agencies, and that fell flat.
Mm-hmm. Why would National Operations Center would have fallen flat on that day? Given the fact that Hero was out of the country.
He was out of the country. Several people were out of the country. The Minister of National Security, in fairness to General Alfonso, 3 months now, he has not made a statement. He has not said a word. And it is based on leadership. There were several similar total policing situations I had to encounter whilst I was Minister of National Security, from 2M, getting calls. And then you have to be proactive. But you have 1.3 plus million people in this country. And the Minister of National Security said he was the last person in the country to know about it. That says a lot. He knew about it 8 a.m. Most people knew about it. Radio stations, they were speaking. It was being discussed the night before. By 5 a.m., the National Operations Center, everyone would have known about it. He was supposed to have made a command decision, but then he jumps up and says that he is going to order the Commissioner of Police to stop the roadblocks. He didn't even realize, again, it shows ministers not understanding their role and function. You can't order the Commissioner of Police to stop the roadblocks. He then went on the platform that same night, the Minister of National Security, and says, no, we need to understand that those roadblocks were very important. He didn't even realize it was sabotage.
The National Operations Center, is it their business to inform the minister?
Well, yeah, it is. It's part of.
So if he didn't find out about it until 8 o'clock in the morning, and yet they knew about it before, we have a failure of source.
Exactly, and I was coming to that because the NOC boasted, Commander Hero, boasted that the fact that the NOC knew about it since 5 a.m. And then when we asked, well, what did you do?
Well, in all fairness, to be honest, Mr. Bishop was on air on that morning. I was in traffic coming out of Diego Martin. I called because at 6:30 I was stuck at the West Moorings traffic light. Yes. And by the time I turned around and I tried to call Hira because that's the obvious thing. And he was overseas, and I'm sorry, but at the time that I called, which is after 7, he seemed not to know. He said, okay, I'll make a couple calls.
He didn't know, but he did. He made a press release, and he said that the NOC, they were aware of it at 5 a.m.
The NOC, but not Hira.
Not Hira, because he was out of the country. But it shows that the institution must be bigger than the individual.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that means that there was not proper leadership. And there was nothing to measure accountability. There was poor management. But the fact is, when you ask what it is why did the NOC do anything at 5 a.m., he said, we had the helicopters and we were providing, and he loves situational awareness. So you are there watching everything and doing nothing about it. That is not the job of the NOC. He said they were doing situational awareness. No, your job at 5 a.m. at 5:01 is to call the minister, contact the commissioner, ask him if they are aware of it. Let the minister then liaise with the commissioner so that he would be aware, so that he can pass on. By 5:30, that should have ended. But the NOC, they're looking at it doing situational awareness. The Minister of National Security was asleep at 8 a.m. He is the last person to know what was going on. It was a total disaster. It was bad management, it was bad leadership, and they dropped the ball badly.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Bishop, but I think 8 a.m. would have been a little too late, because I remember him saying somewhere between 7, he would usually get to his office at 7.
Yeah, but he said he didn't know about it. I think it was 7:30 or 7:45.
Something, yeah.
Which is why basically he was the last person in the country to know about it.
Yeah. But you didn't answer me as to Special Branch.
All right, so again, going back to with Special Branch, you see, there's a circling of wagons that will always take place, and it is unfortunate that the Police Welfare Association, everyone knows what happened, but again, it shows the poor aspect of leadership. that persons of the rank of sergeant and inspector can all make an and this was an orchestrated situation where all the roadblocks took place simultaneously. You as one inspector in a police division cannot be involved in a joint operation with an inspector in another division unless those leaders know about it. And that is what happened. So this was not just a random roadblock. This was a major operation took place. This was the biggest operation by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in 25 years.
With the acting police commissioner out of the country as well. And
not doing about it. So, I mean, basically it was sabotage. It was done, but obviously the police cannot protest. So they turn it into total policing. And that is very unfortunate. But again, even looking at that aspect, we have to look at what has caused it. When we have situations where the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, they are not given the assets, the tools, what is required. Again, this is not to justify what they did. They were totally wrong. And those persons should have been fired. They should have been suspended. But we don't have those situations. An NYPD police officer just argued with someone in his car recently. And he was immediately assigned to desk duties. We had 3 police officers we see kicking a vagrant recently, and Inspector Seal says, well, the reason for that is because they don't have pepper spray. The man is not a threat to the police. Those 3 police officers should have been suspended, and that is the situation we have. We do not measure performance. We do not make people accountable. And so what happens now is they circle the wagons and everyone just pretends that they don't know what happened. Someone should be held accountable for what happened.
Is the role of the special branch such that if something is happening within the police service and they are part of it, that they ought to report
immediately? That should have gone to the commissioner of police, and they did not do it. So even though there was one member of the special branch who was involved in that, the concept, the role of the special branch and all the other intelligence agencies, the SSA, the special branch, the NOC, all of those agencies, in real time, that information should have been passed on immediately. That was done the reason why I drafted the NOC was to do that, and it should. With carnival activities, if there's a car crash, any problem that takes place, floods, whatever, the NOC in real time will pass on information and immediately it will be dealt with. That did not happen. For 3 hours, Garvin Hero is saying that we were just doing situational awareness. That is not the job of the NOC to sit down and stay and watch.
Sharmain makes a very good point, and I agree that I think the problem here in regards to the minister has to go to the NOC, the people you set up there who should have informed him. I do want to go into this area of the special branch because when the police did appoint an assistant commissioner to look into this, and he went to speak to special branch, they refused to cooperate with them. Differentiate, make clear for us who is reporting to whom in the context of the special branch? Are they obligated?
Yes, they are.
To speak to the hierarchy of the police?
No, definitely, because the special branch is an arm of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
And if he refused to, why would he be refusing?
And if it is that there are concerns like that, those persons should be fired. And that is where we have this situation where when I brought in Commissioner Bill Bratton here, and then 2 months later, he became the commissioner of police again in New York City. He told me that. He said, you have to put systems in place to make people accountable. And that is what I was putting. I mean, you're seeing it with the major reduction in crime and having persons accountable by putting GPS in the vehicle so they can't just do their own thing. That was the problem here. The special branch they are not an arm external to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. This is not like the DA or anything like that. And no person in the special branch, because they're headed by an assistant commissioner, I think, and that person reports to the commissioner of police. So the commissioner of police is in charge of the special branch, even though he doesn't have direct operational. And
I understand that, but is there a question of rank here, i.e., an assistant commissioner speaking to one lesser in rank than he is? I think that is what the problem seemed to me from the reporting seemed to be the problem.
An assistant commissioner was doing the investigation, was it?
Yes, that's right.
So it was on par.
No, they were on par.
But is there an overlap? Like, there was all special branch was always from what we know in the police service, the intelligence arm of the police service.
That's
and
right.
Suddenly there's SSA and there's all these different units now.
Yes.
So is it that special branch officers are disgruntled and like they are not given? Is there an overlap of duty or something that would have them not efficiently?
Not at all. Let me, if I could clarify, the Trinidad and Tobago Special Branch is a very elite unit. They are highly trained and they know their job. They do their job well. Most of these officers, they actually go and do their training in North America, and they top the courses over fellow Americans who actually go and join the Secret Service and the DA and so forth. So this is not to knock the special branch in any way. There may have been one or two individuals, as with everywhere, in every business, every organization, you will have bad eggs. So I think the concern here is that passing of intelligence in real time to the Commissioner of Police. That is what the question should have been asked. And I don't think in that parliamentary committee, they didn't put focus on, the focus was not on that. Why did you not, as soon as you knew about it at 5 a.m., why was not the message wasn't passed straight up to the person who was in charge of the police service at the time?
But is it that because we are all in this thing together?
And that is where it is. You have the situation that they should immediately be suspended. But we have the commissioner of police. It seems that he is uncomfortable because when you do that, persons may go to court. I'll give you a quick example. Mayor Giuliani and Commissioner Bratton, when I met with them on several occasions, they said the crime was at its highest in New York City in the mid-90s. And Bratton called them in and said, listen, in one of the divisions, it was very high. He said, what is your problem? Everyone else is going down. He said, well, I need more men. He gave him men. Next week, the same thing. He said, I need more vehicles. He gave him vehicles. He said, I need more technology. After a month, he kept asking, and then he said he has everything. A month later, the crime rate in that division was still very high. And he asked, well, what it is you do? And he said, well, I don't know what more I could do. He fired him. This man immediately, this senior police officer immediately sued the Mayor Giuliani, he sued Bill Bratton, he sued the New York State. The judge automatically said, listen, you were weighed, measured, and found wanting. And that is what we need. And we have not reached a point now where police officers, senior officers, should be measured based on their performance and suspended for not even doing their job. But we have situations now where something like that, those officers, if they are fired, the precedent will be set. And it's not being arrogant, because in the same way that I demand and I would insist that police officers should get double their salary, as Bill Bratton advised me. But in the same way as you want to increase, you're begging and protesting that you want higher compensation, you must also show that sort of maturity and leadership skill that is required, that you can be seriously considered as Trinidad and Tobago's finest. And that day in total policing, it was not done.
Many will argue which comes first, the chicken or the egg, because the whole area of compensation, having the adequate tools to do their work. While I do not agree with Seals in the area he identified, which is to say a policeman showing poor judgment in beating that person, it would be something to understand that police officers should be given the tools for restraint and so on. Because I'm not justifying an agreement with you. But as far as the chicken and the egg analogy I brought, it has to do with we are still negotiating compensation for them that is going to fall even short of that double that Bratton suggested to you.
Yes.
You're having brunch on 107. Going to take